Hi everyone. What is it? I actually have to look here. It is, let me put this on Do Not Disturb before it's a problem. So it is April 21st, 2021. So 4/21/21. Uh, yeah, sorry about last week. I was just exhausted and my head was killing me and I just could not wake up. Better this week, even though it's been kind of like a crazy day. But uh, gotta embrace certain things in order to move forward. So today we're gonna do mind space. So I'm gonna talk about what that is, and then going next week, I'm going to have a guest come on to do um, mind space work specifically, so that way you can see it firsthand. So what is mind space? I call it mind space. Others might call it something else. But what it is you accessing your mind to see what it is that you need to be told. Or maybe what you need to work on or experience, kind of thing. So it is the raw form of really kind of getting to know yourself. Now, with that said, there can also be issues where you might feel stirred up afterwards if you're doing it by yourself. So there are certain aspects of it that you want to make sure you do it in a safe place. You white light. So, watch my video on how to white light. That is out there as well. But you're just basically putting a protection bubble around yourself. When it's your mind space, it shouldn't be a problem. But at the same time, always take precautions first. I obviously am not in a room with you, and for a lot of you that I've never met, obviously I don't know your situations and if there's any kind of negative energies around you, whether living or dead, and that can absolutely can affect you. So you want to make sure only your spirit guides are around you, and you're also telling spirits not to come into your space. So since you are taking the time to access what you need to hear, I'm going to teach you how to first get into it. And then we'll do a little practice. And then, how to successfully come out, so that way maybe you're not so stirred up. Because sometimes some things can come up and we're not able to deal with it in that moment. We go through life like that all the time where we're dealing with so much stuff and yet we can't properly handle it. So then we get depression, we get substance use, substance disorders, things like that. So I want to make sure that when you're doing this, that you have the techniques that you would need to make sure that if you can't deal with whatever, the information that's provided to you, that you're not just like completely like stirred up and not able to process. So, and I feel like I repeated that several times, but again, it's important because if we're constantly triggered, which we already are on a regular basis, but then add in something else that we may not be able to get assistance on right away, it can just make things feel worse and kind of magnify. So, yeah, it's important to make sure you're closing the session appropriately too. So, I'm going to describe how it's done, and then we're going to do it. So, if you are not in a place where you can close your eyes, then obviously you don't want to do this right away. You want to come back to it. For those that are driving or completely distracted, or maybe have dinner cooking, kids running around, you're not necessarily able to close your eyes to do so. So take safety first, because again, I'm not with you. So you need to be responsible, because it's not that it's like this terrible thing, but again, distracted people leads to accidents and things like that. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So, so how it works is you would take a few deep breaths with your eyes closed. And as you're taking those breaths, each time you take a breath, you feel heavier and heavier and heavier, and you feel the heaviness around you. And then as you get to that third breath and you're breathing with your eyes closed, you start to stare at the darkness behind your eyes. And as you're staring at the darkness behind your eyes, sometimes images will come up, thoughts will come up, feelings will come up, and that's okay. But what I want you to do, what you will do, I should say, is you will, when you start to stare at the darkness, you make that acknowledgement that only the information you need to access at this point in time that will help you serve whatever purpose you're looking for. And those could be, what do you need to work on? Or why do I constantly smoke? Which I don't, but I know that I get that a lot. Why do I have certain types of relationships? Why do I feel like I'm taking advantage? Whatever the major stressor that you can identify currently in your life is what you want to ask that question for. And then you'll see what comes up, what information comes up. When you do it, just know you're safe. You know that you're not driving or you're distracted. Again, that's, we want to make sure you're in a space where you can actually do this. And if you can't, come back and watch this later. It's out there on the channel. But when you can, know you're safe. Know that whatever you experience, whether it's this life or a past life, it's not going to harm you. That it's just there for informational purposes. And the reason that I say to make sure nothing negative is near you is because sometimes you don't get the right information. It's not that they'll attack you or, cause some kind of problem. But what happens is maybe you get the wrong information. Or maybe the story you're hearing, seeing, experiencing isn't necessarily what you truly need to hear. Or what you need to experience, because they're just bringing things up to you that maybe aren't as important as what you're trying to answer. So going into it with a clear understanding of maybe what information you want to have is the best way to do it. And I would suggest you only tackle one situation at a time, because then you're able to focus on that energy. So after you have asked your question or statement, at that point, you process. You listen to what needs to be said. You can ask additional questions about that, such as, okay, well, if this is the reason this is occurring, then how do I change it? And then you'll either see images, or you'll hear things, or you'll just have this sense of knowing. When I say hear, you may not hear with your ears, but a sense of knowing what the answer is, or even just feelings. And then at the end, when you think you're done, the way you come out of this would be just finding what your storage containers are. And they could be anything. They could be cabinets. They can be file folders. They can be boxes. They can be, I had this one client have caves with treasure chests in it. I've had another person with a cave with colored bottles. Whatever it is, you're going to ask to see your storage container for this particular situation or problem. And you're going to put all that energy into that storage container, so that way when you are finished, you can leave it there and you can access it at any time. So it allows you to put your triggers there, including on a subconscious level, any of that energy that stirs up for you, so that way you can come back to it at any given time to allow yourself to experience it again, as well as work in your day-to-day life without that constant trigger. So for example, and I'm going to do this with you as well when we actually do the actual technique. But for me, currently, right now, it's always the trigger of my son's death, and how to live in this world without him. Because yes, I can still see him. Yes, I can still hear him. I can feel him. But it's painful to do that because it's that constant reminder that he's gone. And even though that doesn't take away from somebody else who doesn't have abilities, because the pictures and the memories are constant reminders too, as well as dates and things like that. For me, and again, I can only speak about my behalf as well as everybody in the world. We only know our perspectives. But for me, there's a sense of never finding the okay with it because sorry, lessons. Neighbors walking the dog, so I'll give him a moment. She went downstairs every night, same time. She freaks out as the neighbor walks the dog. So what it ends up being though is this constant pain cycle for me. And each time that I go into my mind space and I ask these questions and I process these questions, that it tends to be a little bit more information. And then I find my storage and I put whatever it is that's bothering me and I will put it into that said storage unit. And what that does is help me, continue to move forward, chip away at the iceberg, so to speak, so that way as I process life and process things, it's a little bit easier in general. So that's the purpose of it. This is also similar to the past life regression session that you guys had saw. But next week I'm going to do a mind space specifically for any issue that somebody is facing, and it just helps us recenter. So with that said, again, I'm going to do it with you. So I will chime in from time to time, but I will have my eyes closed while I do it as well. But I will walk you through it as I do it, and we'll go from there. So this will be the first time we're doing it like this, but we'll see what happens. All right, so you want to take a deep breath. And take another deep breath. Feeling the heaviness around you, drop your arms, open your legs if you're able to. Relax completely. And on the third one, start to stare at the darkness behind your eyes. And this time, as you're staring at the darkness, ask your question or make your statement. So for me, I'm going to say, what more do I need to do to help me live in this world without my son? And then I'm going to wait. could take a while for some people, and if so, just keep staring at the darkness, keep breathing, keep relaxing. It's easier for me because of what I do, and I trust in the process. If you were with me, I would guide you through what you're seeing and experiencing. And for those that are listening, I'm not actually doing the practice. What I heard and saw was that I need to live life. I need to find my happiness that doesn't involve him, no matter what that looks like, no matter what that is. And so then I asked, how can I do that when the weight is so burdensome? And when I did that, the answer was, you just do. You're doing everything you can between memory of him, honor of him, symbolizations of him, which is nice, but for some people, there's obviously, other things I know I could do differently. But again, those are the choices I need to make in my day to day. So knowing that, I'm going to look for my boxes, my storage, which is usually boxes. And I'm going to place this energy of confusion for me about day-to-day life and finding my happiness when I'm already doing so much for his memory. And as I find it, I'm going to notice how big or small it is. And if it's small or full, which it's pretty big but it's pretty full, I'm going to give it its permission to grow as it needs to and soar as far and wide as it needs to go. And after I've acknowledged that, I'm going to put all my energy that is affecting me in that way into that box. And I'm going to just visualize it moving to the box, filling it up. And as I do that and let it all come out, which I feel tightness in my chest when I do that. But as I let that out, I'm going to have a subconscious awareness to allow myself to fill this box anytime these emotions that are not good for me stir up, these emotions and energies. And as it stirs up, it goes right into this box. So it doesn't affect me in my day-to-day. So as you are doing the filling of the box, as or whatever your storage container is, as I'm filling it, I'm going to keep doing that until it's gone, until I feel like there's nothing left to put in there at this moment of time. And as it pours in, acknowledging the day-to-day subconsciously goes in there so I don't have to deal with it in my day-to-day, knowing I can access the storage unit at any time. I allow myself that peace of putting it somewhere until I can deal with it, until I can open that box up and process. And then once done, I just come back to this real world because it's all conscious. It is not gone. It is 100% available at any point in time for us to access. Those of you that are still doing it, keep doing it. Ignore my voice. You can always come back to it to see if you missed something or even pause. I've had people successfully do this for all kinds of situations that they're being affected by. And it allows them to just not be burdened in the day, because it's all in there. Every thought, every feeling, whether this life or past life, it's all in there. And it affects us as we move through life in general. So by doing that, and this is a great example of doing it this way, some people may remember or may know that this Sunday is my son's death anniversary. So this is always a hard week for me. And so I feel lighter. I feel less bogged down by having this box to put some of these feelings in there and these emotions that I'm not able to process. Um, and even though I acknowledge what was said, that I'm already doing so much that there's not much left to do, the the real world, the world I live in, that doesn't feel like it's the case. And I know we go through life feeling like there's more we can do, or this perception that we're not doing enough or we're missing something. And that's how we feel, whether it's true or not. So, hearing that, especially this week, was kind of nice because I really don't feel that way. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like there's more. So clearly there's not. And I need to accept that, embrace that, and make sure that I am living a good, full life. So that is mind space. And it is a powerful tool to help us in various ways. And sometimes we have to do it multiple times. I know somebody who had to do it multiple times because they wanted to quit smoking. And there's a lot of layers there, and there's a lot of deep stuff there. So they'll go in there, they'll think they're good, they think they're done, they put the energy into the box, but yet they haven't gotten past it. They might have gotten better. Maybe instead of smoking a pack a day, they smoke a half a pack. So they go back in. What are they missing? So they'll ask, and they'll have some other memory come up, or emotion come up, or process come up. And then they'll do the same technique, and they just chip away at it, because when you're doing it by yourself, it can be a little challenging. But even doing it with a professional, like myself, there are times where there's just not enough time in the session. So you get what you can done, and then you process anything left over later. So there is layers to this, because we are people with layers of stuff. We all have pain, we all have hurt, we all have many lives of pain and hurt. I know not everybody believes in past lives, and that's okay. So, like I tell everybody, what resonates with you, you take it. What doesn't, leave it. Don't get hung up on it because somebody said this and you trust that person, or everything else made sense, so that has to make sense. No, that's only causing you struggles and issues. I believe in past lives. I've accessed my past lives, and that is why I believe in them. But those lives do cause issues for us in this life. And so experiencing them how we need to is where we're at or where we're not at. So use the mind space anytime life seems to be really difficult and you're not sure why. Go in, see what needs to be said, see what needs to be experienced. It will help you tremendously, and it will change your life in a lot of positive ways. Might feel negative sometimes at first because you get stirred up, but in the end, we have to be stirred up to heal. We have to be stirred up to move forward. Change doesn't usually happen when we're ready for it, as well as we're always in constant change, whether or not we see it. That we notice the big changes when something's done to us, not necessarily the changes that we're making every day, the choices we make when we wake up. So if you feel like there's something there that could cause you to have a better choice, but you're not doing that, go into your mind space. Seek out a past life regressionist. There's so much opportunity there. And it's all in our space where we're at. We just have to trust ourselves, to listen to ourselves, to just understand we have the answers. We just let the world get in the way, our life get in our way, our emotions to get in the way, our sadness to get in the way, our distractions to get in the way. So next week I will have, I'm not sure if the person's going to be live with me. And if so, we'll be at my new office, not in my studio, which is why, you see like stuff in the background. But we are going to do some mind space. If it turns into a past life regression, then it turns into one. If they're not on here, not in person, then they will be through Skype. So I hope the next person will be able, the Skype will not be a problem for them. And that you wouldn't just hear their voice, but you can potentially see facial expressions and things like that. If for some reason that doesn't happen, I will reach out to to people to see if anybody wants to volunteer to do one, because we'll definitely get one done next week. And yeah, so we are going to do that next week. And then the following week, I think what we're going to do is some spiritual readings, because there's a lot going on in the world. And, maybe even have some guest readers on that can provide messages outside of me talking and providing said messages, as well as maybe a live person. So maybe it'll be like a 3-person thing. So we have some good stuff coming up over the next couple weeks, which takes us into May already. So yeah, I think next week is the only week. So it'll be last one in April. I feel like I rambled a little today, so I apologize if that's the case. But it's nice seeing everybody on today. So hi, everybody. And I'll see you next week. Be safe, be well, resonate with what resonates, and discard whatever doesn't.